Welcome to the eCommerce podcast with Matt Edmondson, a show that brings you regular interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.
Well, hello and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. It's great to be with you because this week we are looking at the ultimate Facebook ad strategy for your e-commerce business. Yes, we are. Okay. So before we get into this, let me just give you a quick heads up. If this is your first time with us, a big warm welcome to you. Welcome to the show. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get a lot of value out of it. And if you do the usual thing, the usual subscribe and stuff. Basically what we do here is I get to talk to amazing people from the world of e-commerce. I get to ask them all kinds of questions about what they know and how it's going to help us develop online. I try and have the conversation that you would get to have with them if you sat down and had a cup of coffee in your favorite coffee shop. We kind of dig into their story. We learn the principles that are going to help us grow and adapt online, right? That's what we do. That's our MO. That's why we're here. So enjoy it. Let's get into it, right? So here's the deal, right? You're looking to grow your e-commerce business. You have heard about Facebook ads, but you don't know how they work or what's the best way to use them. So today is your lucky day. Of course it is, right? It's always the lucky day today. On this week's podcast, we're getting into this whole thing with a beautiful lady called Meredith Kallaher. And we're going to talk about her specific strategy for targeting the ideal audience that leads to more clients, more leads, and ultimately more e-commerce sales. Now, Meredith helps new and seasoned business owners find the right people to effectively communicate the value of their offers and move prospects along their customer journey quickly. Which, let's face it, is one of the key problems that every e-commerce business faces. How do we find the right people? How do we find the right audience? So Meredith helps entrepreneurs like you, like me, develop and implement marketing strategies that optimize profits and meet our customers where they are with social media advertising, conversion copywriting, and even things like building out digital products on platforms like Kajabi. So if you are in that space, if you are building out digital products, Meredith is definitely going to be of interest to you. So do stay with us. Without further ado, let's welcome Meredith to the show. I'm going to push this button. Meredith, how you doing? Great to see you.
Hey, great, Matt. Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here on everybody's luckiest day.
I thought that was great writing. Sadaf, bless her, she wrote the introduction. And today is your lucky day made me smile. I thought I'm totally leaving that in there. Today is your lucky day.
Yes.
Thanks for being here. It's great. Now you are, we were talking as the whole thing was going off in the background there. You're in Miami, Florida, right?
I'm in Miami, Florida. That's not so sunny today. That's why we had a little weather. I think we had a little weather that was affecting our connection a minute ago. But yes, I'm in usually sunny and tropical Miami.
And I'm in usually grey and wet Liverpool. So,
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect compliment. So are you a Miami girl? Have you always been resident in Miami?
No, I moved here almost 10 years ago, 10 years on New Year's Day, this upcoming New Year's Day. But I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, and
Okay.
spent a little time in Mississippi as well. I went to high school and college in Mississippi.
Ah,
So yes, that's my story.
Dallas,
Hmm.
Texas. I know it very well. Some very
You
good
do?
friends in Dallas. Yeah. Very good friends
Okay.
in Dallas. I remember this is nothing to do with e-commerce, but I remember the first time I traveled to Dallas. My friends said to me, they said, "What do you want to do while you're here?" I'm like, I have to, whilst I'm here, go to South Fork, right?
Yeah.
I have to go to South Fork. I have to go see that place because when I was a kid, obviously Dallas was big in the 80s. And so I did. And I have photographs of me dancing on the lawn at South Fork Ranch, which is fantastic. So, a childhood dream was fulfilled. Let's just put it that way.
Was it smaller than you thought it would be, or not
It was
particularly?
it was massively smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Have
Right.
you been? I take it you've been. You're from
Yes.
Dallas. Yeah. And
Yes.
you go around and TV makes this thing look like a mansion, but it's tiny, and you're like, oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, especially compared to your in your head, what it's going to be like.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. Exactly. But it's definitely worth a trip. So if you're like me, an old Dallas fan, definitely go check it out and hear the story of South Fork Ranch. It's quite fascinating, the journey it's been on. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Dallas, as interesting as that is. So you moved from Dallas via Mississippi to Miami, Florida. So how did you get into the whole Facebook advertising thing?
Honestly, so the Facebook advertising, I hired a Facebook ads manager once and and she did a great job, but it was like bells went off like, oh, I would be really good at this. And I would enjoy this. I studied at the University of Mississippi accounting and what got my CPA and worked for Price Waterhouse. Actually, in Dallas and in Europe. I was in Switzerland and London for a little while with PwC. And
Okay.
but I hated that. I like to travel, but I didn't like the being an auditor or an accountant, really. And anyway, so I did lots of different sort of entrepreneurial things after I left PwC, and I had gotten quite a bit of practice on social media. For a while, I was selling high-end advertising, and what came with that advertising was sort of influencer type marketing. So for 6 years, I was kind of a paid influencer, and yeah, when I hired a Facebook ads manager, I thought, oh, that looks like more fun. And I'd heard someone say that Facebook ads are all about the numbers, and it sort of went like ding, ding, ding. I know how to do numbers. So but honestly, it was really that thought. And I went and took a couple of certifications, and it has proven to be super fun and interesting, and a place where I can use my creative skills and
Yeah.
enjoyment, and yeah.
Oh,
So that's
fantastic. So I find it fascinating actually that you came from the accounting background, because this is a little known fact about me, and I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the show before. My degree is in accounting and finance.
is it
And so,
too.
yeah, it is totally. And so I did the same thing. I got my degree in accounting, and I left university and went, the last thing I ever want to be in the world now is an accountant.
I know. Well,
So,
you figured it out sooner than I did, I think. But
yeah.
which I was a painful like 7 years, but I did get to travel, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's pros and cons, aren't there? And I figured out quite early I didn't want to do accounting after doing my degree, and it's amazing how quickly we both then went, I'm going to do something quite entrepreneurial, which is the opposite of the whole accounting thing. Because I would venture to say most of the accountants I know are not entrepreneurial at all.
Yeah, I
So I
would
mean,
think so.
I think it's quite a different skill set. But I don't know if you must have found the same thing, that my qualifications in accounting has really helped me get my head around numbers.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to business, that's been incredibly useful and incredibly
Yes.
helpful. You get a feel for them. Have you found that?
Yeah, for sure. And I do. I think. I think I. I think in numbers, and I do
Hmm.
think that's helpful. I remember always as a kid like that, but I think you can creatively think in
Hmm.
graphs and numbers too. But I think that it's helped me just organize my entrepreneurial business and project where I'm going. But also, there's not as many numbers background people, I think, in the
Hmm.
entrepreneur world. At least in my world, I run into more creative, so it feels like it makes me more unique too, which is
Yeah, I would
helpful.
say so. I think it definitely gives you a different edge,
Hmm.
because there are plenty of people who are creative. I don't think there are that many people who are necessarily data driven or numbers driven in this particular field. So I get why that would give you an edge.
Yeah.
So how long have you been doing the Facebook stuff? When did you get
So
your
the
little
thing,
aha?
just over a year after
Hmm.
I've been doing the ads, I sold this since we've got. Oh, I have my. Um, I own this franchise. Sorry, it's under my computer. For 5 years, it's like this high end magazine,
Okay.
where and that's what I did this where we took business owners pictures. Sorry, and then we printed this beautiful book, and we distributed 20,000 copies, and I did that for about 6 years, sorry, total. I keep growing. Yeah, 6 years total. I've produced 5 books. And then, and in that, the people that bought into that book annually, that's where I was doing the influencer marketing. But then I basically stopped printing the book, told the franchisor, that was a great run, and then just left them and started doing the ads just a year ago, just 12
Well,
months. So
so I imagine it's been a heck of a year for you to choose to do that, because so much has changed in the Facebook ad world in the last 12 months.
yes, but I kind of think so. I bet most listeners know, but just in case they don't, what happened big for Facebook was the Apple released an update to their phone, which changed the privacy rules, right? That's what you're referring to. And
Yeah.
this happened like in April. And I think Facebook was sort of like, they spent $1 billion fighting Apple on this, and they lost. And I think they weren't quite ready to lose. Like they weren't quite. It's because they, I mean, they've had some great measures in place to counteract the privacy rules that Apple created. But what's been interesting is they keep changing their mind. I feels like they were in denial and they weren't really ready, even though they're Facebook and they should have been ready. So so it's been interesting because we keep having to they'll announce one thing and they'll say this is what you definitely need to do to make sure your ads work properly with Apple's new update, and then 3 weeks later they'll say actually you don't have to do that, do this. And but on the flip side of that, because I was new, I didn't have that history of
That baggage,
knowing
maybe.
how it worked in the good old days. And I mean, the good old days of 8 months ago, but but I can see where that was frustrating for people that had been doing it for 3 years. And then on top of that, in 2020, when for people that started, even when did I start? In October 2020, people that started like in February of 2020, maybe they their clients got just crazy good results because people like Target and the cruise lines and these huge big business companies pulled out of advertising, even just for a minute. I mean, I can't don't quote me on any of those. I'm pretty sure I heard that they did. And so the people that stuck around, their ad prices got so good. Like they were getting, webinar signups for 25 cents each and 30 cents each. And so, so I had to compete with that when I came on. Like, I know she got you 20-cent leads, but I swear I know what I'm doing. No, but nobody's. But yeah, so it was an interesting year to sort of learn with my clients as we went. But also, I wasn't frustrated with like a past history of different results. So,
That's a really interesting point. I mean, one of the reasons I was excited to get you on the show was because you were quite new to the whole Facebook ads thing, which sounds a bit topsy-turvy. People might say, why have you not got someone who's got like 10 years advertising? But yeah, I mean, we've had those kind of guests on the show. One of the things that really interests me about you was you did literally start just, right at the beginning of this whole upheaval. You came from an entrepreneurial background. You spent the last year learning. And I'm really curious, in that to sort of dig into some of the principles then that you've learned, because I feel like the stuff that you've learned quite quickly is probably going to be the most helpful, if I'm honest with you, to our listeners. And so, so where, if you could go over the last 12 months, what are some of the key things that you've learned?
About Facebook ad strategy, right?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about,
Yeah.
because I've learned lots of different things. Yeah. Okay. But, right. So Facebook ad strategy. Well, the thing to remember that's working best is, so what happens is, Apple, just to kind of catch people up that don't know exactly, but they said for all of their Apple apps like Facebook and Instagram and all of them. Now users, if you downloaded iOS 14, which by now I'd say 90% of Apple users probably have done this update because it came out in April. And I heard so when it came out, now you basically you have the option to be tracked by one of these apps, by Facebook specifically. They'll ask you, would you like to be tracked or not? Before, we were just all tracked. You could figure out how to turn it off. Like you had the option, but you were just tracked unless you decided to turn it off. Well,
That's right.
now
Yeah.
everybody is just, so I heard a number. It's been a while, like probably since the summer, since I've looked at this, but 96% of people were opting not to be tracked once they
Yeah,
downloaded
I imagine it was
the,
crazy
yeah,
high. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So so really one rule of thumb, if you can think about it this way, is your ads will be successful if you just try to keep track people on the app, on Facebook or Instagram. Meaning, and so we're going to talk about like that video view campaign that I mentioned,
Yeah.
but so I don't recommend ignoring the pixel completely, but before you guys, what made Facebook ads so successful is you sign into Business Manager as a Facebook business owner, or
Mhm.
your ads manager would sign in, and you get a free pixel to take this pixel and go put it on your website. And
Yeah.
then anybody that visits your website or takes any action on your website, Facebook could track, and then we could serve them ads. And it would even get more specific than that, not just because they visited your website, but if they opted into a certain freebie, or
Mhm.
if they put something in their cart but abandoned their cart, Facebook would have all that information, and we could send a specific ad, to people that abandoned their cart, or people that looked at a certain item but that didn't that didn't buy it, or maybe they did buy it and then you want to send them another item similar
Mhm.
to that. If you're just a listener, maybe not an e-commerce seller yet, that's how you got that perfect dress that you just would look great at your Aunt Sue's wedding. It just showed up in your Instagram feed.
Mhm.
That's because you maybe bought a similar dress from that website before, or for whatever reason. Well, so now what really works, we can still use that pixel, and I certainly suggest like put it there on your website. Um, it, Upload your email account, your email addresses to Facebook. It doesn't work as well anymore because if they've opted out of tracking, then it doesn't help you
Yeah.
very much. But go ahead and do it. But yeah, there's things that we can do. We can track people's um, movement on Facebook and Instagram, and they haven't opted out of that. They can't opt out of that. So if you can put in measures to um, basically you can track your Instagram, you can show ads
Mhm.
to your followers. So there's an argument for maybe like a lot of online marketers will say, don't invest in your Instagram followers, only invest in your email list, because your email list you own, and Mark Zuckerberg owns your Instagram followers.
Yeah.
Well, maybe those Instagram followers now are more worth your time, because you can target an ad to your Instagram followers where you can't necessarily your email subscribers.
Yeah, this is actually a really interesting point, because one of the things that I've noticed, we were talking with Katie recently, Katie Wright, about this. There has been there seems to me over the last, since the tracking thing changes, more people are now investing more into growing their Instagram followers or their Facebook
Yeah.
followers, the people that actually connect with them via social media. Whereas
Mm,
before it was always paid media. We're going to do paid media to a landing page. Do you know what I mean? And it
yeah.
was always go find an audience. I don't care whether they follow me or whether they don't. I just want them on my website, right? And I'm
Yeah.
going to try and get them to sign up to a freebie of some kind. That strategy seems to have been one of the key things that changed. So now people are using paid media to get people to do something in social media, like follow them or comment on a post or do something on social media. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
That is what I'm saying. And I do have a little an ad campaign trick, I guess, to help you get more Instagram followers. You want me to share it real quick?
Oh, I absolutely yes. I can just hear,
Yeah.
thousands of people in my head going, "Yes, well, if you don't, Matt, we do." So, how do we grow our
Okay.
Instagram following? Yeah,
Well,
what can we do
yeah.
there?
Perfect. Okay, so you guys, if you're doing this yourself, if when you go to create a campaign in Facebook Business Manager, the first thing you do is you pick the objective. And there is an objective, so of get more likes on your business page. Like that is an objective, and Facebook Business Manager will walk you through how you set that up. You pick that objective. But there's not one that says grow my Instagram followers. So what you can do is select traffic as your objective. So you're going to run a traffic campaign to a website, and then the website that we're going to send people to is www.instagram.com/your IG profile. So in my IG profile is Meredith Kallaher. And so we'll send people there, and you do that at the ad level, if anyone's wondering. So you put the URL where you want to send the traffic in the ad itself, just if people are wanting to run their own. And then at the ad set level, there's 3 levels, you guys. Campaign level, that's first. That's where you put the objective traffic. Then it asks you for the ad set. And at the ad set level, you can hit automatic placements, meaning they'll send your ad wherever, or you can hit manual placements. What I've done and has worked well for some of my clients is we get rid of every placement but Instagram story. So we just run the ad to Instagram stories. And
not
then
even Instagram feed, just Instagram story.
You could do the feed, but I've only done it to stories because this is what we do. And my clients, they still have the swipe up. I guess now they're switching to that link. There's Instagram's moving to the link button, but this would work either way. But I have the business owner say, and let's just pretend it's me. Hey, my name's Meredith Kallaher, and I'd love for you to come follow me on Instagram. On my Instagram profile, I enjoy talking about Facebook ads, living in Miami, and what it's like to be a mom of 3 teenagers. Just tell them what you really talk about, and then say, swipe up and follow me so you don't miss the latest and greatest ad strategy. And it sort of depends on why you want people to follow you, or the audience that you pick, but tell them swipe up and follow me. And just Instagram is changing this right now. It sounds like they're giving out link clicks to people with less than 10,000 followers, but until like today or yesterday, only people with 10,000 followers had the swipe up, except for in ads. If you make an Instagram story ad, you get the swipe up. So you say swipe up and follow me, and I might even tell them swipe up to see my Instagram account and hit follow on my profile. So really give them exact directions what to do. Yeah. And it works. So I have a local client that's a dentist, and you guys, it's hard to run organic social for doctors and dentists. I do not run her organic social. Someone else does it. And she actually does a really good job for a dentist. Like she's got like 4,500 followers, which is pretty awesome. But we got followers for her at $2 a follow, and I think a dentist would be I think you could get it cheaper than that even if you weren't a dentist. And what's cool, what I like about it is they're real people deciding to follow you, so they're good followers. They're not like a robot out there getting you followers. So that's the strategy.
That's really interesting. So the strategy to get more Instagram followers, I like this, where you in effect go onto their Instagram feed, say, hey, listen, this is what I stand for. Why not come follow me, and check or click here or whatever the call to action is. And you mentioned that the dentist got $2 follow. Is that typical? I mean, if I'm going to sort of embark on that campaign and go, it'd be really great to get 1,000 followers, do I need to budget in my head about $2,000 to do that, or do the results fluctuate depending on industry? Or
I would think we did that this summer. I would think you could count on $2 or less. I like my clients to count on the high end, so they're not too, so their hopes aren't too crazy. But a traffic campaign that stays on platform is not very expensive. Traffic campaigns in general aren't very expensive. They're usually not that effective. Like if I want someone to go to your website and give you their email address, right? I would usually not recommend a traffic campaign because Facebook is just going to find people that will click to go to your
Yeah.
website. They're not going to find people that actually click and give you their email address, but it's cheaper. So some people will do the traffic campaign to get people on their website because they just can't stand the idea of paying for a conversion campaign. But yeah, I think it's totally reasonable to assume you could get $2 a follow. And you could try for Dr. Patty. That's what we call her. It's her last name, but that's what she goes. She goes by Dr. Patty. We had one of her hygienists do it too. Like, hey, my name is Jenny and I work with Dr. Patty and her Instagram's so fun. And we had a client do it and we actually got about the same results for each person. But we were pleased with that cost.
That's okay. And so, I'm gonna. So part one of your strategy is obviously we're going to grow our Instagram followers.
Yeah.
But why am I growing my Instagram followers? I mean, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but just remind us why we're doing this.
Okay. So one reason to grow your Instagram followers is because then when maybe so we're e-commerce sellers. So Black Friday is coming up and you do want to offer people to a purchase campaign, right? That's another conversion campaign. You want to get people to your website to buy a cute blouse. I like to buy cute blouses, so that's why I keep using that. But we can target all of your Instagram followers. So we can send to all your followers we put them as part of your warm audience. We can send them an ad. So yeah, for organically, you're still going to have to deal with the algorithm. Like you've paid to get them to follow you, but if you just want to advertise that blouse in your organic feed, only whatever we don't know who all is going to see that because of the algorithm on Instagram, right? But if you pay for a conversion ad and you can run it to your warm audience, you can put your Instagram followers in there. You can put your Facebook followers in your warm account. You can upload your email list and your website visitors. But if they've opted out of tracking the website visitors and they won't get the ad necessarily. But your Instagram followers.
I see what you're saying here. So we're going to grow our Instagram followers or our Facebook followers or both. And the reason we're going to do that is because they're then still in the Instagram and Facebook platform. So we're going to grow our Instagram followers. And then once we've got that follower, we are then going to use a second paid ad. You called it a conversion ad to promote product and service to that person. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. And I do have another strategy that we'll talk about, the video view campaign. But one more note on that. I mean, it's why I like this for paying to grow your Instagram and then paying to serve them an ad. In between those two ad campaigns, you get to nurture those people, right? And with your organic Instagram content. And that's awesome. I mean, I love Instagram. And so getting to know the business owner for sure might impact if I buy from you or someone else. Right.
Yeah.
So I like that. But the second campaign idea I have for current day doesn't allow, it's cheaper. Then you can get people into your warm audience for a lot less, but they're not going to become your Instagram follower and you won't have that nurturing time. But do you want to talk about that one now?
Is this the video view campaign? Yeah. So let me just, so if you're listening to the show, Meredith and I had a conversation before the show about these things, but I always talk to our guests about what we're going to talk about on the show. And this campaign particularly, this idea that you had really intrigued me in terms of using this as a strategy to increase conversion via social media. And it's in my notes, you've called it the video view strategy. And that's what we're going to talk about now. So strategy number one is to grow your Instagram followers. This strategy, like you say, doesn't grow necessarily your Instagram followers, but you can target these people. So explain, Meredith, the video view strategy.
the video view strategy helps us also grow it helps us target a warm audience when we're ready to go for conversions and hopefully get your conversion prices down. Because, we're targeting people that have heard of you before. That's who a warm audience is. And so there, the video view strategy is to start, I would say at least give yourself 6 weeks before you're ready to launch the conversion campaign. That's probably, as your ads manager, I would just want to have plenty of time. I don't know if you even need that much time, but I want you to run a video view campaign. That's what it's called in Facebook. That is one of the 16 objectives that I mentioned before. You're going to start a campaign and you're going to optimize for video views. That's what you pick at the campaign level. And so I want you to create a video that you think your ideal buyer would be interested in. And we're not really asking them to do sometimes my clients can't stand it. And so we go ahead and work a call to action in there, which is fine, but it doesn't have to be that. I guess ideally it's a brand video that a videographer made with you. I would say 95% of my clients don't have one. I don't have a current one even, but that would be awesome. Like if you had a brand video that's just told about your business that was very catchy and fun to watch, that would be ideal. But it could be, it could be you talking about your business, especially if you're like a coach or, selling information products. You really could just hold up your iPhone, which I've done quite a few times, and talk about your business. And I would keep it, I would actually keep it around 45 seconds. I don't know that, because to run on Instagram feed, I believe we want it at 60 seconds.
60 seconds or less, isn't it?
Yeah. I started to second guess myself on the ad if it could be longer, but no, 60 seconds. And but you know what? If you've got an awesome video and it's longer than 60 seconds, then we can just test it on Facebook. Remember, even if you think you're going to sell later on Instagram, we can still use it for testing purposes on Facebook. So it can be a TikTok that if you gave me a TikTok, and y'all can do this yourself, I would take it to Canva and loop it to make it a little longer than, I guess, or some people have given me a reel that's really short, an Instagram reel, and I just go loop it to make it about 30 seconds to 45 seconds. This is really like low budget stuff. And then I just did this for someone, actually for Dr. Patty, and I put a logo over the TikTok logo because I don't want that to show on Facebook. So I guess the point is as basic as it has to be, but not something like I really want it to attract your ideal buyer. So maybe if we're talking about cute dresses and blouses again, maybe it's like the latest dress that you have in your store, just talking about how adorable it is. That might not make sense if you're not selling it, but just what's in trend for this fall, or what's a great Christmas present for your mother-in-law, anything. And then, so you get the point of what the video could be. It can be anything. And then we're going to run a video view campaign and what that means is Facebook optimizes for through play. So they call a result is somebody that watched the video for at least 15 seconds. And most of my clients get this. Honestly, most of them get a through play for 3 to 4 seconds. 3 to 4 cents. So it costs them 3 or 4 cents for somebody to watch it for 15 seconds. All right. Okay. And then just to shorten my babbling, and then what we can do is once we have 1,000 people that have watched your video for 15 seconds, we can, and you can imagine, I am a numbers person, but I can't do it quite in my head. I think over if you're getting them for 3 cents a view in 3 days, I believe it depends on how much you're spending, but I'm going to go back and get more complicated, fill in a few details, but I wanted them to see the point is we find 1,000 people that watch your video for at least 15 seconds. They become part of your warm audience. We go into events Manager and create an audience called a custom audience of video viewers. And you call them, watch Meredith's October video for 15 seconds. So then in 4 weeks from now, when we create a conversion campaign to your warm audience, we're going to deliver that campaign to your Instagram followers, your Facebook followers, and the people that watch this video for 15 seconds. And then the next thing that's really cool is we're going to create a lookalike audience. So Facebook's going to find 3 million people, 4 million people that have very similar demographics of people that watched your video for 15 seconds. And you guys, those lookalike audiences do so well. They've always done well. But before we would create lookalike audiences of your email list or of your website visitors. But since we can't anymore, this video view, and we can create a lookalike audience of your Instagram followers too. But this video view lookalike audience, they're doing really well. So
you would then create this lookalike. So you've got the video views, 1,000 people. You would then create a lookalike audience, which would be say 3 million people, and then you would target through this video view campaign using traditional now paid media to those, which is going to cost various different costs depending on your industry, right?
Exactly.
But in effect, what you're saying is for the 1,000 views at 3 or 4 cents each, which is $30 to $40, you've managed to create a potential audience of 3 million amazingly targeted people. Is what I'm hearing, which is insane. I mean, that's incredibly cheap, right? And you've had some great success with this, I take it.
Yeah, for actually every client I've done, we do the video view campaign, and we make it go longer. So we'll run. I usually, oftentimes my clients don't come to me like 6 weeks ahead of time, but I can usually convince them to run this for. And I want to give you a little more detail now. We'll run it for 7 days. We'll run a video view campaign. We'll pick a video, and I'll ask them to spend $20 a day. So we're going to spend $140 on testing. And what we do is they tell me who their ideal buyer is. So I'm just going to use me. She's a woman in her 40s that lives in the United States, maybe. Or maybe she's English speaking, but she might live in what a lot of advertisers call the Big Five: US, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the UK. Whatever. You tell me who you think your ideal buyer. And you might not know exactly. You might think but you go ahead and lay it out. Then using your description, and you can do this, I go and I use her personality to create 4 different cold, detailed, targeted audiences. Meaning, so when I go in to Ads Manager and I'm picking the audience, let me break it down a little more. I said we're going to spend $20 a day. I'm going to run 4 different ad sets, because that ad sets is where your audience is at $5 each. So I have 4 different audiences, basically, right? Those 4, I'm going to pick different parts of her personality that you told me about. So one of those, like let's say you target teachers is a little bit like you target women that like to shop at Neiman's or something. And this is one that I had this just side note. If you think your ICA likes, your ideal customer likes self-help, that has done really well for me. So when I target Brene Brown, people interested in Brene Brown and Oprah and Elizabeth Gilbert, those cold audience, those people like to buy things, which is interesting. But but if you told me, so my ideal client shops at Neiman high-end places, and she likes self-help, and she likes to work out, like she likes to run, those might be 3 different, I just named audiences. And then what happens is we start the campaign. I start collecting video views, and I get my warm audience, like we already talked about, which I can create a lookalike from. But a third thing it does for me is I'm going to see which of those 4 ad sets perform better. Sometimes I don't. I'd say out of if all of my clients, 40% of the time, 40%, they do exactly the same, meaning every one of those 4 different ad sets cost me about 3 cents a view. All right. And I can't necessarily tell a winner, but 60% of the time, this one, like this self-help, I see quite a few times, will cost me 3 cents, but this one costs 5, this one costs 6, and this one costs
Sure.
9. And so then I know which code. So then when I go to do my conversion campaign, if we have $150 to spend a day on the conversion campaign, I'll do $50 to my warm audience, which
Mhm.
is the viewers themselves, the Instagram followers, all of that. I'll do $50 to the lookalike, and I'll do $50 to that cold self-help group that did really well.
Okay.
And every once in a while, if you have that money to compare the lookalike to the detailed cold, sometimes, especially this year, ads managers are reporting, not just me, that they're the cold, the completely cold, like that self-help, it does better than the lookalike every once in a while. But that wouldn't be my guess. If you were trying to limit your budget, I'd pick the lookalike first.
Mhm.
Usually they do better, but yeah, but that's cool. That's why I love that video view campaign. Just for if I can get someone to spend, $140 for a week, I've created a warm audience, created a really cool lookalike, and been able to test detailed targeting and to see what works.
Wow. So, the strategy then, if I can put it this way, is
Yeah.
if I can simplify it in my head a little bit, you're creating a
Yeah.
warm audience. And that warm audience could be people who have watched videos, or it could be Facebook likes. You've talked about both.
Yeah.
And we're then going to target that warm audience. We're going to use that warm audience to create what Facebook calls a lookalike audience. So Facebook goes and finds people who are very similar to the ones which you have sent, which have connected with you. You're going to market to those, and you're going to start to understand the demographics and the interests of people that like you, and you're going to target those on a cold basis as well. And you're going to test those, see which one performs best, and probably run with that one. Is there, I guess one of the questions in my head, Meredith, is there a place to do the video view strategy and then you market to those people, those video view people, and possibly the lookalike audience to like your Instagram page?
Yeah.
Does that strategy reduce the $2 a follow? I'm curious to know if you've tried
It
that.
should. I
Or am I
haven't specifically.
overcomplicating it?
No, but it would work really well. It would work
Mm,
really well, especially um yeah. I think that like your lookalike and your warm should be people that would certainly be interested to follow you, and they might be more likely to follow you on Instagram if they've seen a video first and they watched it,
yeah.
right? Hmm.
And is there, if I'm going to say grow my Instagram following, is there a minimum number I should have before I start to pay money to grow my Instagram following? I.e., does this work if I've got a brand new Instagram account and no real followers, or does it work better if I've got, say, 10,000 followers already? I'm kind of curious to
The
see.
only reason it would work maybe a little better, and is just for authority. Meaning, if you have 10,000 followers, there might be some people that um, believe that you are more of an authority than someone that only has 20 followers yet. But,
Sure.
you could counteract that with the video that you invite them. Hey, I've got a new account and this is why I have a new account, swipe
Yeah.
up. But yeah, I think that it could be a good place to put your money, especially if you are new and want to grow fast and have some capital to invest in your business. I think that I like these followers, meaning I'm not totally opposed to robots. Like, I think the robots that are out there that one time I used a robot that liked, like, I would tell the robot, if anybody hashtags, this is when like Miami mom or something like that, then like their post, and it would like thousands of, and then those people would come back and sometimes they'd follow. Um, but I always felt like it was okay because it was still a real person deciding to come back and follow the account. Like some robot liked their hashtag. But I even like this better because I don't know, because they hear my clients speak, they tell them why they should come follow, and then they take the time to swipe up and check out your account. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good place for a new person to put their money. But I do think maybe someone with more followers might get lower costs just from that authority. It's
Yeah.
weird. I mean, it's been proven if a post has like 3,000 likes, people on Instagram are more likely to like it just because it has a bunch of likes, which is kind
Yeah,
of weird.
social proof, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if you're going with this strategy, or say the video viewed strategy, so
Hmm.
I'm investing 3 or 4 cents to go get someone to watch my video for 15 seconds, and I'm creating that. And you mentioned do that for about 1,000 people. Once I reach 1,000 people, do I stop with that? Am I happy with my lookalike audience, or am I continually doing that, continually refining my lookalike audience?
I like it. If you can work that into your budget, I think keep it going. Like I would, it would just get your lookalike to be better and better. And in fact, um, you can always see this, but on when you're in ads manager on the like results screen, I guess, like the first screen you come to in ads manager where you see all your campaigns listed out, there is a button on the right. I know that most people's right side that you can customize the column,
Hmm.
customize what you see, and you can see video results, and it will show you people that have watched 15 seconds. That's through play, but then it'll show you people that have watched 25% of the video, 50%, 75, and 100%. So yeah, if you run it long enough, you can get 1,000 people that have watched 100% of your video, and they make an even better lookalike, right?
I'm with you.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and the reason I say 1,000 is because that's the minimum. I think it's not the minimum. You could create a video view audience of like 250 people that have watched your video. But once you go to create a lookalike, I think you have to have 1,000
Hmm.
people to create the. But yeah, I think so. At a minimum, if you were in a hurry, but budget wasn't necessarily a problem, I would start the video view campaign. And then as soon as you have 1,000, you could start your purchase campaign.
Hmm.
But if budget's not a problem, I would just keep the video view campaign going. And for most of my campaigns, um, there's another number you can see in the results of your ads that it's called frequency, the number of times someone has seen your ad.
Hmm.
And I let ads go till usually until they get to 4.
Okay.
And then I might change it. So that, and honestly, for your conversion ads for e-commerce people, like a lot of people go further than 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah,
But for
yeah.
the video view, that'd be a good rule of thumb. Just change it at 4. And if you're, especially if you're nationwide or worldwide, it takes a while to get to 4. So it
I would
could be
imagine if
months.
you've got 3 million in a potential lookalike audience,
Yeah.
that's 12 million video views. Yeah, 12 million. Yeah, yeah. So the
Yeah.
I really like this as a strategy because it's such a simple way to start to build good audiences to target, because it means your conversion ads are much cheaper because you've got a much
Yeah.
better, much warmer audience, right? And this is
Right.
why we're doing it. We're building the warm audience to make our conversion ads, one, more effective, and two, an awful lot cheaper.
Correct.
And I can see this working for e-commerce sites, especially e-commerce sites that are very brand authentic, and or there's a personality driving it, that kind of, there's good people strength. I can see that working super well there. I could see it. Does this work well for the course creator? I mean, someone who wants to create like an online course, would they do the exact same strategy?
Yep. Yes, I'm doing that. Yeah. In fact, I have a course creator right now who's launching uh, in January, probably January 1, how to lose the last 15 pounds.
Hmm.
And she's running a video now that is longer than a minute. And her target is millennial women.
Hmm.
Guys, like, I'm not a millennial, but but she feels like her audience is on Instagram more than Facebook. But she made a 2.5 minute video that is giving some tips on holiday eating. That's what it is. And it's awesome. And so we're running that now, and then collecting data. And then she's actually going to run a quiz in between now and then. So we're going
Hmm.
to first run her quiz to try to build our email list to these people that watched her video. But when we're ready to launch the course, we'll have increased our email list, and we'll also have created these great video view audiences. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
So you can use it to create courses. What about I'm just thinking totally left field here. Let's say I wanted to grow the podcast audience, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted to get more listeners to the podcast. Would this strategy work for something like that, which is not necessarily a course, it's not an e-commerce product, it's just content that we put out there? Would that work?
Yeah, I think so. Because it's really, you're growing your audience, and there are some ads that can help. So they can help increase your podcast listeners. But we would use the video view strategy to figure out who to send the ads to get listeners. And I mean, what could be cool though is the video that you use could be talking about your podcast. So I tell people, don't expect to get a lot of call to actions from this video, because it's so crazy how the computer works. But Facebook really is only looking for people interested at that moment to watch a video.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you're paying them for. You're just paying them the 3 and the 4 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't find a lot of people like jumping over to go listen to the podcast, but it couldn't hurt. I mean, sometimes we couldn't hurt. Tell them about a great episode. Maybe you just tell them about a great episode, and then, go find me on where you usually listen to podcasts, or
Yeah.
And then anybody that watched your video, we would know then to serve them an ad about listening to your podcast.
So the video views, so the Instagram follower strategy, you were deliberately targeting Instagram stories. With the video views, where am I placing those videos? Am I placing them in stories, just on Instagram feeds or Facebook feeds? Where am I
I'm so
placing
glad
those?
you asked that, because most of the time for every other ad campaign, the rule of thumb lately is to do automatic placements, because the thought is that, and I'm learning this lesson, Facebook really does know best usually, like, because they've got the computer and there's so many of us think, but we really know, like my millennial weight loss coach, she's like, but they're on Instagram. But if that's true, then that's great. Facebook will figure it out, because they've got the computer to information from computer. But for the video view campaign, you guys go to the ad set level, where don't uncheck automatic placements and do manual placements, and do only Facebook and Instagram. There is 2 other options, and one is oh gosh, I usually know, but there's 2 other options. One is like there's some, it's like the gaming network. That's not what it's called, but it's some weird places, which usually I'd want you to put your conversion ads to, just in case. But it screws up the video view campaign, meaning people might watch your video over there, but you can't count them in your warm audience later.
Okay.
And so I'd run it to Facebook and Instagram, and I wouldn't try to pick one over the other. I just see what happens. And
what happens. And what format is the video? Is the video landscape? Is it portrait? Is it square?
That's another good question. I'd go square. And I try to sometimes I go square, and then I would maybe reformat it for IG stories if you can. So I like, if my clients just send me a square, or they usually don't send me a square. They usually hold up their phone and go way back. I tell them to back up so I can crop it up. I do have sometimes they're here and I can't. But if I can't make it 9:16, then I'll just take the square and put it in Canva. Usually and make it a 9:16. It does look better if you reformat it before you get to Ads Manager, instead of having Ads Manager do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So do a square video, except for the one for Instagram stories, which is going to be the portrait long video, isn't it? Okay. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. When you do video views to stories though, do you have a 15-second, because there's like a 15-second cap per story, isn't there?
Well, I think you get a minute with the ad. So that's another, Okay. So and one thing that you don't have to worry too much about, you guys, like if you have a great video that's longer than a minute or wouldn't work in stories, when you load it up to Business Manager, they're going to tell you like, this isn't going to work, and so, which is fine. Then just run it to the Facebook feed. But that's why if my client's asking me, I tell them, let's try to keep it under a minute so we can put it in as many places as possible. But
that's great. That's really helpful. So I have so many questions, Meredith.
I
There's
like
so
it.
many rabbit holes we could go down, isn't there?
Uh-huh.
Which is lovely. Um, I understand that the simplicity of this when it comes to building the warm audience. So we've talked a lot about building the warm audience, but in terms of marketing then to that audience, you talked about a conversion ad, the objective of being conversion. Are there other objectives that we should look at when it comes to remarketing to that audience that we've built?
Not really, to be honest. There it is the most expensive conversion, and that's because we're asking Facebook to find people that will leave their platform and go give us something off platform, whether
Mm,
it be their email address, which is a lead. So if you're wanting to give them a freebie in exchange for their email address, you still do conversion, but you optimize for lead. Or if you want them to give you money to buy something.
mhm.
Um, Honestly, it's best to ask Facebook exactly, to optimize for exactly what you want. That's why conversions are best. And the only other reason people use the other one, like or traffic, there's other things like brand awareness
Mm,
um, is really because they're cheaper, but they just don't work as well. So
mhm.
I can't advise them. I mean, if you're trying to if you're at the top of your customer's journey and you're just trying to build brand awareness, you could run a brand awareness campaign, but
Mm.
I don't know. And some people like to run unengaged. Your question though was after you get the video view campaign, is there any
Yeah.
reason to feed those people? And so I don't think so.
Mm.
Um, Honestly.
Okay, so like I said, I've got lots of questions, but this will be my last question. Otherwise, 'cause I need to end this, because otherwise we'll be here
Yeah.
24 hours later. Um, I'm sitting there listening to this, going, "This is cool." And maybe you don't know how Facebook Ads Manager works. There's plenty of videos on YouTube which will tell you how Facebook Ads
Yes.
Manager works, right? And so you can
Mhm.
take the notes, the transcript from today's show, you can listen to it over and over again. You can watch those videos on YouTube, and I think within a couple of hours you'll know enough to be able to do this yourself. That would be my guess.
I
But
hope so.
if I'm sitting there thinking, well, this all sounds great, I could do it myself or I could outsource it, either way. What sort of realistic budget do I have to have in mind? So you mentioned $20 a day to build the warm audience. You're going to spend $140 on that. I'm going to start to build this warm audience, so that's maybe 140 to $200, figuring that out. But that's just to build the warm audience. So then I've got to run some other ads as well. Typically, if I've got, say, less than $500, is this strategy worth doing? Should I be in my head going, actually, to really get some interesting data, to get some really interesting results, minimally $2,000 is where you need to be? I don't know, Meredith. This is the
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
question that I'm asking.
So, um, so the short answer is I'd love for people to invest $1,500 a month
Mm,
in first the video, and that comes from about $50 a day. So maybe it's a little
mm,
less than that. If the first week you were just
mm,
spending $20 a day, and then the rest of the month $50 a day.
mm,
But that's mainly because with the conversion campaign, I mean, you've got to for e-commerce people, if you're selling something, then it costs money. So that the $50 a day often gets us great leads, great
mm.
if we're trying to collect email addresses, and because of iOS 14 and all these other reasons, it's gotten a little more expensive. But $50 a day gives you a good the ad, should I say this? It makes sense. To get out of the learning phase in Ads Manager, which is always the goal, they want you to have 50 conversions a week. And to do that, you need enough money to get people to convert 50 times, to give you their email or whatever. You've
Yeah.
got to have some room to play. So that's why we can usually get there with $50 a day. And then you could reduce it if it's costing you less. You could bring the campaign down less. And as long as you're getting that 50 conversions a week, you'll get out of the learning phase. But the thing is, like with e-commerce was one thing I love, especially being an old numbers person. I mean, I I have this on my website if someone wants to read through it. At meredithkallaher.com, I have a case study, and she is she does meal delivery where she sells, people once a week, they pick the different meals that they want from her and she delivers them. And so what we got an 8-to-1 return, but for every $10 she spent, it cost her $10 to get one customer to spend $80. So
You'd do that all day long, wouldn't you?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of play. So yeah. So the short answer is, without like going off on numbers, like to figure that out, we spent about $1,500 a month and figured out that then we created a machine where if she wanted to increase her revenue, she just knew she had to put, increments of $10 in to get in one more $80
So $1,500 a month is ideal.
Yeah,
You
but
mentioned
if you only have 500 a month, now that if you just want to increase your Instagram followers, right, and then you could sell to them in Instagram organically, that's a way to start, right? So you could, now for that, you could spend the $500 in the month. You don't need, that's a traffic campaign. You don't need that, the conversion.
Okay. So I said that would be my last question. I totally lied because I've got another one. The conversion campaigns that you're doing to your warm audience, you've mentioned this a couple of times now about getting people's email address. Is that the conversion campaign you typically run to your warm audience, is to then get them to give you your email address? Or like with the lady that's doing the course, How to Lose the Last 15 Pounds, would the conversion campaign actually be buy my course? Would she go straight there, or is there still some onboarding that we need to think about?
Well, most course creators that I work with are not going directly to the course to sell it because they're using Amy Porterfield's course launch method. That's how we know each other. I'm in a Facebook group with Amy Porterfield's course creators, but Amy teaches to sell courses in a live webinar. So what we do is, so the lady that's losing 15, teaching how to lose your last 15 pounds, she's running 3 or 4 master classes. Some of them call them, or webinars. We will send a conversion ad to potential course buyers but invite them to sign up for a free webinar. So put your name and email in for this free masterclass. And that's cheaper than having them go directly to a course sign up page and pay. And also, it gives her time to sell them in that hour. That's what Amy teaches. But so most of the conversion campaigns that I do run for course creators are to, and some people send to a landing page. So we send a conversion campaign to a landing page. We give them free information, like a freebie, a PDF download. They enter their name and email, like, get this PDF download, put your name and email here. Then a thank you page pops up, and that's where we invite them to the masterclass. That works well too. And that's just another way to nurture people along. But yeah, for a lot of e-commerce people that are selling a product, for sure, we're not getting their email addresses. No, we're going straight from Facebook ad, come buy this meal, run a video. This is why Chef Nicole is so fantastic. She likes to run triathlons and make meals. That's what her video view campaign was. Now go buy her meals, and or go buy this sweater. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Meredith, listen, I might email you a whole bunch of other questions at some point, but it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. If people want to reach out to you, if people want to connect with you, maybe even get your help, how do they do that? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, and I love to answer questions too. So I love Instagram, so I'm there quite a bit, and it's just at Meredith Kallaher. Where my name, if you're watching us, my name's there. And also on my website, which is also meredithkallaher.com, you can book a free discovery call, and you can tell me all about your business, and we can talk about how Facebook ads might work for you or not. I'll tell you if I don't think it's a good idea yet.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So that's meredithkallaher.com, or find you on Instagram at Meredith Kallaher. We will, of course, put all of the links in the show notes. We know some of you religiously download them and get the show notes and transcript. We will put all the links to Meredith in those as well. And you can get those at ecommercepodcast.net/78. They will all be there very, very soon. If you're watching this live, they won't be there yet, but they will be there very, very soon. It's been great to chat with you, Meredith. Thank you so much for being here. I feel like we'll probably have you on again at some point in the future just to find out what the next really interesting strategy is, because I'm sure if there is going to be one, you'll figure it out somehow way before the rest of the world.
For sure.
Yeah,
I would love that. Thank you.
Wasn't Meredith fantastic? I don't know about you, I got pages and pages of notes. Interesting notice, I might actually try this on the whole podcast thing and see what actually happens when it comes to podcast promotion. I will let you know what the results of that was. But yeah, great, wasn't it? Fantastic. So whatever value you got out of this, do let us know, and do get in touch with Meredith. I am sure she would love to hear from you. And her website again, meredithkallaher.com, or like I say, head over to ecommercepodcast.net/78. Which is this episode number, and we will put all the links and stuff to Meredith there, which is fabulous. So yeah, thanks again to Meredith, and thanks for listening to the show. If you've made it this far to the end, well done. I'm sure you got some extreme value. Make sure you stick with us, subscribe, and all of that good stuff, because we will continually bring you more amazing people just like Meredith, sharing all their value, wisdom, and insights in what's working in the world of e-commerce. So that's it for now. That's it from me. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the eCommerce Podcast with Matt Edmondson. Join us next time for more interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.